Hello and welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. On today's program, we will learn about the efforts to create a President's Coast walking trail here in Quincy. First, though, we take a look at the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, it's not great walking weather. Unfortunately, it's rather damp with some off and on showers, rather blustery and raw today, with the temperatures only in the low 60s this afternoon. For tonight, the showers will linger. They'll taper off late. Lows tonight into the mid 50s. A little better tomorrow. Should stay dry, although mostly cloudy and rather chilly. High barely 60 degrees. Improvement here for midweek on Wednesday with a mix of sun and clouds in the mid 60s, and not bad here on Thursday either. Partly sunny. High Thursday into the mid 60s. Right now it's rather gray and damp, 60 degrees in Quincy. Checking out news for you today, Quincy City Council is now reviewing a proposal from Mayor Thomas Koch that would rezone the 20 acres of land that Eastern Nazarene College sits on to allow for 55 and over housing construction if the college ever closes. City Council President Noel DeBona supports that measure.
One of the biggest things around the city, Joe, that I hear consistently, and we're having an issue right now, is housing over 55 throughout the city. Folks are having a hard time getting into obviously senior housing and really downsizing their early nesters. They don't have the children at home anymore living there, and they want to downsize. And there really isn't a lot available in the city of Quincy. I call it availability because folks are, HUD and our Quincy Housing Authority only has so much, and thousands of Southern Artery and Moorings and all these other places. Believe it or not, we're still don't have enough housing for over 55. So this is going into committee. This is going to go in the ordinance committee, and we'll have more discussion about this at a future date. But I think it's a good proactive approach, not only for Eastern Nazarene, but also other areas around the city that have big developments that may not succeed as we move forward. So looking forward to more discussions in the city council.
Mayor said he hopes Eastern Nazarene College stays in the city for a very long time. However, he says he took action to protect the city in the future, given that ENC is now leasing out a portion of their space to the state for use as a welcome center for migrants. City Council did place the mayor's request into the Ordinance Committee for further discussion. Now, plans are moving ahead for a new Squantum Elementary School in Quincy. Mayor Thomas Koch says a recent community meeting was held at the current Squantum School to introduce residents to the plans for that new school.
It was a good meeting. We took comments about existing conditions, Joe. We hadn't drawn up any specific building designs yet. We wanted to get feedback from the community, like what's happening today. Mm-hmm. In addition to our studies about, like pickup and drop off and how the traffic flows. Are there any other challenges like drainage and those types of things? And so it was kind of a listening session. We walked through the process by which we follow with the school building authority and explained folks about that. We introduced the architectural team, the city team, the OPM, and kind of walked through the steps. So we'll be back to them, to the community, with probably some design stuff within the next few months, because there are a number of milestones we have to meet with the SBA process as well. So for the new school, when people listening, School Building Authority, we finally were invited in. This will be our fourth school in Quincy. The importance of that is that we get pretty good state reimbursement for the building. In a case like this, it should be somewhere in the mid-60s. Reimbursement on the new school, which is tremendous. And that was done years ago by the legislature, adding the penny to the sales tax that goes right into a fund to really seed new school construction across the state.
So the current plan is to build the new school right behind the existing school, then demolish the existing school. The mayor said every effort will be made to preserve as much of the existing playground as possible. The current Squantum School is over 100 years old. Well, tonight, Quincy Access Television will be hosting the first of two debates between incumbent Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch and challenger Councilor at Large Ann Mahoney. Tonight's debate will be live at 7 o'clock here at our studio, and although it is closed to the public, it will feature questions submitted by Quincy residents. The candidates will also ask questions of each other. You can watch the debate live on QATV Channel 8, our high-definition channel 1072, and on our website, QATV.org. The mayor was first elected in 2007 and is already the longest-serving mayor in Quincy's history. Mahoney has been an at-large councilor since 2018, previously served 12 years on the Quincy School Committee. This is her third run for mayor. QATV will be hosting a second mayoral debate on October 12th at Quincy High School that will be open to the public. It's our check of news for you today. Coming up, we get details about plans for a new walking trail in Quincy. That's next. Welcome back. It's been over 2 years, actually, since we first learned about plans to create the President's Coast Walking Trail here in Quincy. So definitely time for an update. So please welcome to the program PJ Foley, Scott Bishop, and newcomer Bill Burt. Guys, good to have you here. Really appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, PJ, it's the President's Coast Walking Trail.
It's a pedestrian pathway, that's right.
That's the plan, right? To kind of connect, Housnack, Germantown, Quincy Point with the rest of the city.
Yeah, and it works. It's basically to connect our coastline. You know, we have 3 great peninsulas here in Quincy, a lot of coast, to the newly developed downtown center, Quincy Center, and vice versa, to give that new community, our new neighbors, that it's a neighborhood that never existed my whole life, and it's a vibrant neighborhood. And
you're volunteering your time and your expertise on the steering committee for this particular
we put
project.
together a tremendous steering committee, a really good group. You know, I'm hoping to get a chance to meet them, and there's about a dozen of us, a lot of talented people, dedicated people, and we got a community preservation grant that allowed us to. The grant didn't go to me.
Right.
It didn't go to the steering committee. It went to the Department of Natural Resources under Dave Murphy. And Dave had worked closely with Bishop Land Design on some other park work in Quincy, so it was just a natural fit. That
Kincaid Park, most notably, right?
Yep, that's right.
Sure.
Yeah. So we really used that money well, spent it well. I promised the Community Preservation Committee we'd make that money pay dividends, and it has. And but then I met my new best friend, Bill Burt here, who I'd like to just hand it off. If anybody can get on and get information on the websites and so forth, and feel free to contact us. And, but I really think that the story between these two gentlemen right now would be of interest.
Absolutely. I want to let folks know about how you came to be, your partnership, and what we look forward to in the future. So, Scott, let me just bring you in quickly and just if you can just give a quick overview. I know there have already been a couple of community meetings about plans for this President's Coast Walking Trail. Bishop Land Design is integrally involved in designing this. Why is this important to you?
I mean, as head of the technical team, it's really important to see how a city functions. It's one of the things that I'm interested in. I'm also interested in ecology and human ecology in particular, which means like bringing people into the idea of how we exist on this planet. So the big picture is that this is going to help our community. And so
of which you live in, by the way.
Of which I live in. My business is here,
right.
and so is my family.
Yes.
So and I actually live on Howe's Neck. And so really the idea is that we create this interconnected network that allows people to use alternative transportation. So it's not just a walking path, it's actually a bikeway.
Okay.
A walkway, a running way.
Okay.
It's a multi-use trail, and we've looked at that in terms of its dimension and making sure that we can support that. So the cool thing is that we're really upgrading a system that already exists. And all of the land, predominantly 95%, is actually owned by the city.
Okay.
The rest of it's in a public right-of-way or a school or state-owned. So this is really just upgrading this so that people can connect from their neighborhoods into the city, and also connect from the city out to all of the resources that are available that PJ just talked about. I mean, we have such a beautiful coastline, and it's, there's a history of underutilization because of the way that things happen with transportation. But now we're looking at this in a different light. I mean, the same way that Kincaid helped to support the community in terms of during COVID and allowing people to get outside,
Yes, yeah.
This will also support that kind of activity on a bigger extent.
Sure.
And it actually is, it's a little bit different from Kincaid in that, we're actually we're highlighting the natural resources that already exist.
It's already there.
It's already there,
there.
So.
Enter Bill Burt. Right, Bill?
Right.
Executive Sports Editor, Eagle Tribune.
Yes.
But also Quincy High grad, 1979.
1979, in Germantown, resident for about 6.5, 7 years. So my take, I'm up in that, and these guys get a F in selling themselves and really how great this project is. Great guys, but they do, that's my job here. But I moved to Germantown when I was in 4th grade, and our family, I'm the oldest of 7, and we had no place to live. We had come back with my father. I was born in Sacramento. We were there out there for a little bit, came back, and literally 7 kids, 1 girl, 6 boys. And the Graham family, he was a city councilor at the time, Ed Graham. They found us a place, 224 Taft Rail Road, apartment 3. That's our we all use that for our lottery number. And we grew up, I grew up 4th grade till middle of 10th, left for a year, came back 12th grade. And so I went to Merrimack College, 2 Germantown athletes, Jack Euler, who passed away last year tragically, and Bill Dacey, both played basketball there. And I was a sports guy and went up and visited the school at Merrimack. I went to school there and literally never left.
Oh.
And I got married in 1994. And so I've had a connection to the Merrimack Valley now for literally since I got out of college.
Yeah.
And but I always want to do something for Germantown. When I say this, I do some charity work. Being a sports editor, I get a lot of calls, speaking engagements, golf tournaments, and I do a lot. And I get that from my mom. I got to say no. My wife says I got to say no more often, and my mom never said no either. And my mom, who passed away about a little less than a year ago, when she passed, I've sort of taken things to the next level, and this project has been sort of part of that. And so I've come back to Germantown a couple times over the last 5 or 6 years wanting to do something. And
Why is that important to you?
I had a great time growing up in Germantown, and I wanted to check out the field. I'm more of a, like I said, sports. I was thinking a turf field at Snug Harbor. I was looking, in fact, I drove up one day, just Wednesday morning, and went to Taft Rail, the basketball courts right in the water in Taft Rail Road, and they were beautiful. And it looked like someone had done something, they invested money. The courts were great. They were lousy when I was a kid. We used to play street hockey there. I mean, I'm going to say over 1,000 games of street hockey there over 6 years. And we played one side of the neighborhood, played the other.
I see.
My point was I loved growing up there.
Okay.
And so I wanted to do something, and I get a hold of counselor. I looked up, I didn't know anybody.
Sure.
And I knew the name Coke, because it was the Coke Club when I grew up.
Sure.
And that was related to the mayor, I later found out. But they sent an email or got a hold of McCarthy, Dave McCarthy, and who I knew, and I knew the name, and they'd go, "Oh, Billy, how you doing?" It was like we were old time's sake, and so I went to visit the mayor, and he said, "What are you interested in?" I said, well, "I want to do something. Like I said, pool. How about a pool?" He goes, "Yeah, that's a good idea." He goes, "But we got this other little project we're working on, and it's I think you're gonna like it. And I'm going to put you in touch with Dave. You put me in touch with PJ, who I knew. PJ was a couple years older than me. And so I came down for this meeting, not having any idea. I honestly said, I'm out of here. I'm just going to go to this meeting. This isn't my thing. He told me something about boardwalks and
It wasn't sports related, so
Yeah,
it just didn't click, right?
It wasn't what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And again, I wanted, again, there's helping others,
Yeah.
and then there's paying a brick and mortar, something that you leave a legacy for, and you could always go to, rather than, it's great to help Big Brother, Big Sister, Boys
Sure,
Club in
of
Lawrence.
course,
I'm
yeah.
very connected to that.
Okay.
And that's probably more important than anything, but there is something about seeing something and saying, I helped that. And so I went to the meeting, and they showed this drone video of what the plans were, and my jaw dropped.
Really?
And I said, you got to do this, guys. And I just had met Scott.
So that changed your mind right then and there.
It changed everything. I didn't, because what happened was, the one thing, I grew up in Germantown. I've always said this. I lived in Germantown 6 years, on the water, swam in the ocean until Jaws came out.
Yes.
But I was connected to the ocean because of my 6 years there. I'm 62, just turned 62, and I'm an ocean guy still because of that. And my appreciation in the air, you know, I go to lakes, nope, I want to go to the ocean because of Germantown.
Okay.
So a couple years ago, I went on a boat ride on Quincy Bay around Germantown. And again, this is before I even saw these guys, met these guys, and my jaw dropped again. And I said, I lived there. I didn't know it was this beautiful. And
Because you couldn't see it from that perspective when you were
I never
living
did.
there, right?
And other than swimming across and doing some illegal stuff, no, I never really looked at it that way. And so then, fast forward to this year, and I ran into to Scott and PJ. Everything came together.
Really?
It's like a perfect storm. And these two guys, I mean, I thought PJ worked for the mayor as a full-time employee, and then find out, no, this is part-time. In fact, he's on vacation today. This is a vacation day. Good luck to you and your wife. And Scott, come to find out, lives in Hausnack.
Yes.
He grew up in Germantown.
Yeah.
I grew up in Germantown.
Okay.
Scott, you know, helps with the junior boat, runs the junior boating club at the Quincy Yacht Club.
Yeah.
And so, this is like, these guys are like brothers. And this project, to me, it's something that it's not should be done. It has to be done. I'm going to say it will be done. I think anyone that sees this, and you got to see the drone coverage.
Okay. You can do that on the website, by the way.
And when they see this, you're going to go, okay, I want to be part of this.
Okay. So what do you specifically, Bill, want to do for this project?
So being part of in the newspaper business, being on media, I've done a little TV and radio. I was on the Big Show for 10 years in Boston, and I was down at MetLife Stadium for the Patriots game yesterday. Drove back in pouring rain. Had to get to this meeting. Wasn't going to miss it, or this program.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yes, and I want to do really anything I can. I do know some people in the business, and I do have connections to Germantown of people that have done very well, because there is going to be some fundraising. We are going to have to probably get the state involved, not probably, the state and federal involved.
Okay.
But to get this going, we're going to need some people to help out. And my classmates in 79, 77, 78, 80, a lot of friends of mine from Quincy still. Some of my best friends today are we got 5 or 6 of us that grew up in Germantown, all of us. Everyone's doing well, and these are some of the first guys I'm going to go to. You know, there's matching grants as well.
Yes.
So there's a lot. There's a lot to unfold here. We're sort of at the beginning.
Okay.
But the hard work's. This is the best part is the hard work's been done. What these guys have done to now is amazing, and there is a lot of hard work ahead. But the hardest work is done, and my opinion, when this is done, people are going to complain. Why don't we have this on our area, in our neck, on our little waterway area? So I'm excited. It's not easy coming down to Quincy anymore, especially during rush hour. But it's worth it, because these guys are worth it, and I'm all in.
Do you see this too as maybe kind of a tribute to your mom?
So it's funny you say that. So I don't want to get emotional here,
No, I don't
because
want
my
you
mom
to,
was my
but-
hero.
yeah.
My mom, by the way, didn't know if a football was stuffed or put air in it. She knew nothing about sports. My dad, great athlete, grew up in Lynn. He passed away 6 years ago. But my mom would have loved this walking boardwalk area around. Like to me, and the word is, we've used it, and I got to give PJ credit, connectivity. It's a way to connect that part of the city. I mean, you could literally jog, you could bike, and the beauty, and for me, I did not understand how beautiful I had it, even though it's in me, it's intrinsic in me, until recently until I took a boat around behind Snug Harbor School, which is, I was there. I was there for 3 years. Stunning. It is, and you know what? Not only those people, but other people in the city should be able to witness and take that all
Well,
in.
to your point, there are a lot of new people that live in Quincy now that might not even be aware, that there is a coastline to be enjoyed, and if they are, they can't access it. So, Scott, that's really the crux of this project, right? Is accessibility.
Yeah,
is to be
correct.
able to have
I mean,
folks get out there and enjoy it.
We're both looking at, as a federal project, we want to make sure that this is ADA accessible.
Right.
It will be MAAB accessible because we're in Massachusetts, but it's also this idea that, we have a generous pathway, right? Like some of the trails now, if you let's say go to what I call the berm, but other people call the dike, the MWA high level sewer, you have portions of that path which are literally 18 inches wide, right? So there just needs to be a series of upgrades that happen in order to bring it to that threshold.
Yeah.
And we want it to be there because we want to have federal inclusion in this in terms of getting money, state inclusion, and all of those things are required in order for us to make it happen.
Yeah, we have some pictures, some renderings I want to show folks,
Great,
and maybe you
sure.
can kind of explain what it is we're looking at, just to
Yeah.
give them an idea of what this trail would involve.
Yeah.
So, and this is kind of existing topography, right?
Yeah, that's existing, and I don't know to what clarity you can see it here,
Yeah.
but that is an area where the Phelan Bridge once was, and that is one of the key components to bringing us into Quincy Center. So that area, because there's existing piles there, we think that we can go through a permitting process that will allow us to reutilize those piles and then also connect us over to Broad Meadows.
Okay, so help us, looking at this in the background there, is that the Quark facility right now?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then really the area where it crosses is in front of the electrical facility there.
Okay, and that large
transformer
white
station.
tent to the
That's
right?
DPW.
That's DPW.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's basic. Yeah, that's obviously city-owned property.
Okay, is that where the bridge would go that you're proposing?
A little bit before
Right where that little point is,
Yep.
Joe, that's sticking out. And it's important to note that's beyond all navigable water.
Okay.
It's going to be a footbridge.
Okay.
But we're not going to curtail. It's not like anybody that's boating up there. Really, it drains right out at low
Okay,
tide.
all right. Okay,
Correct.
take a look at the next one.
Sure. So this is really the entire network as we've envisioned it in the master plan.
Okay.
That I think you'll also post on your website. We're happy to have folks. We're happy to release this after such a duration. But you can see how really we're creating this interconnected system. Many of these things are just missing 100 yards,
Okay.
right? Obviously, we're going to upgrade the facilities. Some of them, we need to figure out how to reconfigure a little bit of the roadway. But this is basically the entire system.
How
that we're
long is it,
proposing.
Scott, in total?
So we're excluding some loops, more or less about 7.2 miles.
Okay.
That's a fantastic thing to do a run on.
Yeah.
Right. That's a fantastic thing to bike if you did the entire network. Right. You're going to get it. You're
And
going to get a
do
good.
2 5Ks, right?
That's right. Exactly. Right.
Okay.
And we do think that there are other opportunities. I think, actually, Bill had mentioned that. It is a facility. You are going to be able to do runs. And it's going to just be beautiful, right? It's going to be a whole different thing.
And it's important to note, too, that a lot of those components came out of the public meetings.
Okay.
A lot of
Correct.
this,
Okay.
there were some great ideas that I was kicking myself. Why didn't I think
Well,
of
you can't know everything, PJ.
I try to tell him that.
As much as you know.
Here's a perfect example.
Yeah.
That piece of property comes off of C Street in Marymount, and some people might remember it. It was acquired by the Community Preservation Committee, and it was called Cobblestone Crossing. So it was one of the first purchases. So it was very expensive. And,
Okay.
we were going to do something with the land, and it really just nothing's happened with it.
Didn't materialize?
Yeah,
Okay.
but so now you have a connection from the Marymount community. There's even a crosswalk with a street light right
Yeah.
there that would connect into Broad Meadows and connect
another-
to Broad Meadows Junior High School.
Another rendering there. We only
Yeah.
got a couple of minutes left, so I want to
Yeah,
make sure folks
sure.
see these. Yeah.
And this is just one example of one of the overlooks that we're looking at.
Yep.
So it's not just a trail. There's actually areas for people to kind of pull off, so to speak, and enjoy that.
Okay.
And again, this is just showing some of the techniques that we'll use for mitigation. This is an on-grade path, but we have some wetlands that we're going to restore in some of these areas.
Yep. And finally,
And then this is the.
That's not the Zachem, by the way.
This is not the Zachem. But this is the bridge as we see it right now. It's really, to make that connection And that is key. What we believe that unlocks
That's
the whole
missing link.
The
Okay.
missing link. That's
Okay.
what we. That's,
PJ, what is the next step?
Well, the
Where do we
next
go
step,
from here?
we've kept our political friends at the city, state, and federal government apprised of every step, so they're aware of this. And so the next step is to round things up with the city, Dave Murphy, the Director of Natural Resources, and the mayor, and then move on to Congressman Lynch, Governor Healy, and you know, like I said, we've kept everybody apprised, so everybody knows that this is coming their
Okay.
way.
Okay.
And you know, the one last thing I don't think I mentioned, we did commit to 3 public meetings. We ended up having 6.
Okay.
Because people would call me, say, "Could you come down and talk to my neighborhood?" And I'm happy to do it.
Sure.
McCarthy asked me to go. Dave asked me to go to the Housing and Community Council, and it was very well received. And,
Okay.
so it's been a lot of fun.
So fundraising, and that's probably where Bill is going to come in.
Try to help out a little
Yeah,
bit. You know,
yeah.
look, Germantown is what pulled me into this initially, but this is bigger than Germantown. I went to Broadmeadows.
Yeah.
Probably the 3 best years of my life were 7th, 8th, and 9th grade
Wow.
at Broadmeadows. And this is, I literally could have walked to Broadmeadows on the side path here
On this path, yeah.
safely, by the
Yes.
way,
Right.
and biked, and then could have gone to the downtown, to the city. So it's pretty awesome. I don't know if I'm saying how awesome it is, but it is.
Well, welcome back to Quincy.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us today. Really
Thanks for
appreciate
the
it.
show.
Yeah, we'll look forward to having a more in-depth discussion as the project goes forward.
That'd be
Great.
That'd be great. Thanks.
Just enough time to check the forecast for you for the rest of the day today. Kind of what you see is what you get out there. It's a murky Monday with showers, blustery conditions, low 60s, very raw and damp tonight too, into the mid-50s. It'll be dry tomorrow, no sunshine. That comes back on Wednesday and Thursday, so we'll look forward to those days. Thank you again to Bill Burt, Scott Bishop, PJ Foley for joining us.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks to our crew, and thank you for watching Friday here in the program. Folks from Quincy College will stop on by. Meantime, please visit our website, qa.tv.org. All of our latest programs are there. There's news and information, video on demand, live streaming, and much more. For all of us here at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a great week.